great conversation this morning for, I don't know, probably close to an hour with a girl named Emma who was holding a protest sign originally. And it was so encouraging because we really quickly brought the conversation to a place where we weren't frustrated with each other, and it felt like we were working together on the problem instead of working against each other. Even though we kept disagreeing about maybe the approach to starting conversations, we had a really great conversation, and we both were able to just respect each other throughout it.
So far?
So it's going really well, and I love talking with Institute students too about their experiences. Like, just so proud about the way that Institute students are ambassadors for Christ and surprise people with their tone and with their desire to really hear what other people think. I think it really surprises people on campus when they meet you guys.
Thank you.
My name's Matt Buller. I'm from Champaign, Illinois, and as I was walking around, just kind of praying in between like people that I was talking to, I was looking at each of the FLI students, and I was amazed at how the body of Christ works. I was amazed at how I kept thinking about how Paul talks about in 1 Corinthians, how each of us has spiritual gifts, and each one of you were made completely different from somebody else here. And I looked at different people, and I was amazed at how we take community and we take it outside of FLI, and how each and every one of you has something that I don't have, and how some of the guys have things that some of the girls don't have, and how there were different people that were ordained. I think we can say today that nothing's an accident, that there were different conversations that were ordained for you to have before you showed up. And I think the cool thing for me to observe was the fact that that you were created, each and every one of us has value, and how appropriate as we're standing underneath something that proves that God made us with value. And the important thing that I kept thinking is here we are with spiritual gifts that God created us to use, and how, like David talks about, to be in the game and to leave it all on the field. And that when we all work together, Paul talks about not wanting to be a foot if you're a hand, and not wanting to be an elbow if God made you to be a knee. And how each and every one of you fit in specifically in a certain way. And if that was walking around and praying, then doing that, soli Deo Gloria. Mm-hmm. And I think the best thing that encouraged me to step outside of what I was comfortable with was knowing that I had other spiritual gifts that connected the rest of the body. And that was what made any inadequacy that we feel fit together. When each of y'all did your part and did specifically what you knew God had created you to do. I can't do what you do, and there are some things that God made me to do differently. But when each part of the body was willing and held it with open hands, then the fit that came together is something that each of us can feel peace about, even if we had those tough conversations, because you were made to act in a specific way. God made you with a gift, and using those was something so encouraging for me to see. Each of y'all willing to use what God has given you. So.
I did some observation today. I've been really sick the past few days, and I'm usually really outgoing. I'm usually the one starting conversations, really excited about it. And today I just woke up and was like, Lord, I just need to make it through. And so it was really interesting and hard for me to not be in on the action, because I had a couple of conversations, but just really distracted all day. And so as I was observing, it was so cool to see each and every one of you, like Matt was saying, playing your part. But one thing that got me really pumped up is I'm all about doing the non-conventional way of talking to people. And Matt actually got me so excited. I was sitting probably about to throw up at one point. And he walks over to, I didn't even see the beginning, but I see this group of guys, athletes of some kind, sitting over there, chomping on our pizza. And I at first was like, dude, they stole our pizza. I was almost about to go talk to him. And then I look over and Matt's talking to one of them. And I was like, okay, whatever, I won't talk. So he walks away. And as soon as Matt walks away, shakes everyone's hand, this one dude turns around, kind of looks at me, but then looks back at his group and is like, who was that guy? And why did he give us pizza? And then they walk down, the group of them. There's one girl and 4 guys. And they walk away, and I'm just watching them, ha, you're funny. And the girl goes, dude, I think that was the first time I've ever seen you have a calm conversation with someone you disagree with. You didn't hit anyone. And he was like, yeah, that was cool.
I'm Jacob from Arkansas. I think the biggest thing that I wanted to convey most of you JFA guys is just thank you so much for teaching us how to have these conversations this way. And even the people I ended up talking to, said that to me. They're like, the only reason I'm sitting here talking to you is because you're willing to talk this way, and you're not out here just preaching at us and calling down damnation. So that was huge, and I think this will help just any experience I have talking with people on spiritual issues or confrontational stuff. So I appreciate that. I don't feel like I had too many life-changing or any life-changing where someone just is converted or whatever. But a couple people, I ended up talking to most people that didn't really seem to have too strong of an opinion, but a couple of them were really educated people. I was learning from them. I've got homework to go research now, and most of them, or a couple of them contacts, I'm going to try to converse still with them. But ended up talking for a while with a couple of them, and some of them I'm not sure if the conversation was really that productive, or what the purpose in it was, but I think some of it, they have stuff to chew on now and think about, and hopefully be helpful. So, it was good.
And to kind of add on to what Jacob said about just the usefulness of this method of discussion. After my second conversation with people, I noticed this guy kind of skulking around the edges of the conversations, looking kind of creepy. So he came and sat down. So I sat down next to him and said, so, what do you think about all this? And it turned out his name was Paul. This is his first year here, but he went to a community college for a couple years. And he's pro-life, but he didn't know how to communicate it at all. So we talked for a while about why he believed what he did. He said that mostly it was logic to his point of view, but also that he was a Christian. And he just wanted to know how to engage. So I said, oh, wait, I stuck my common ground without compromise in my purse. So I pulled it out and I said, here, why don't you take this? I can pick up another one. And he said, really? And I said, yeah. They really emphasize finding common ground with people and just not screaming at them because, that's really great. And he said, yeah, that's really cool. And then we walked around and, talked with some people together. So that was really cool that even people who didn't go through the JFA training are still getting it. So.
Very good. Thanks.
I'm Ashley Odom from Tuttle, Mississippi. And coming up to today, I wrote on our little quiz thing that one of my concerns was maybe I was missing something, because every time this came up among my friends, roommates, whatever, we were always talking about it, everybody was kind of nervous, and I was just ready to get out there. This morning when we were talking for 2 hours in that room, I was like, let's go, let's get out there. And then I was like, well, maybe I don't know what I'm getting myself into, because nobody else seems to be this excited to go. And that was weird, because I'm not confrontational. I don't like to go up and talk about awkward things that people disagree about. I like everybody to be peaceful and just get along. And this is not something where people get along. Anyway, so I had no idea. I was really kind of confused about why I was just so eager to get out and do this, but I was. And God just kept giving me a peace that there was a reason, and He was preparing hearts, and He was preparing my heart. And so I got out there and was just kind of standing around, and I wasn't going to walk up to somebody. That's not my personality. And strike up a conversation about, so, what do you think? And I didn't have to. He provided the conversations, and how He used me was through my testimony and through my story, I would just kind of be hanging around, and I have a nudge in my heart to put in my story about how I had an abortion appointment. I was an abortion appointment, and that you could just see a light go off with somebody. It just kind of would change the mode of the conversation when you're looking at a person that could be them up on in that picture. And then with a biology background, if somebody was trying to talk science, that was cool, because having a degree in it, except for the one time when the girl accused me of not knowing anything about science, and I was like, well, I have a degree in biology, and she quickly told me that she had a PhD in genetics and had a Siggy flush. Okay, well, we moved on from that subject. But it was a wonderful day, and like Katie saying what God's showing her, I don't know, this is just, I've loved it, and I don't know if this is just something that's in my future, but it is so up my alley, and I hope that I have more opportunities to, I don't know if I'm going to spend my life like doing this on college campuses, but in some form or fashion, I just hope this is in my life, in my future, and I'm so glad that I've had this opportunity today. I remember reading in the FLI handbook about this, and I was like, really, we're going to do that? And I wasn't excited then, but as it's approached, I loved it. So there you go. Anyway.
From Delaware. I don't know if we have time for one more. I know you guys want to eat. Anyway, so today when I got there, I thought, I wasn't really a big fan of this, but now that I'm here, I'm going to make the best I can of this. And God used me however He wants. So I was just playing that open vessel and saying, God, how do you want to use me? So I had this little quick talk with Him, and He said, okay, well, the real issue is spiritual. So go out and pray for the campus. So I did a nice big walk around campus, and I talked to people. I talked to custodians, I talked to administrators, I talked to a lot of staff and students who are just walking on the fringe of campus, sort of trying to avoid, going on the center. And I guess the general consensus of the campus is, we may or may not agree with the way the issue is brought to the surface, but the fact that it is being brought to the surface is good for the campus. And the campus will be better when JFA leaves because of that interaction and that influence that's been taking place. And so, for a good portion of the day, I was able to go walk around and pray and just kind of look at what the spiritual issues were underlying, whatever else is going on in the surface. And then at lunch, I had some people pray with me, and that was a good experience too. And then after lunch, we were able to go out and do some surveys, and that's when things really started getting interesting, because then I got to engage people more and more on the one-to-one level. And I was surprised at how many people just didn't want to take a stance. They were saying, oh, I don't want to offend anybody, and that's why I'm undecided about abortion. And that's what they said to start. But then after we started talking about it, most people thought not only is abortion, especially in the last trimester or whatever, is it detrimental, but it's actually morally wrong. And I said, well, what basis do you have to say something is morally wrong? And so then we started going, getting engaged in those discussions. And I think the goal at that point was just to leave people with those thoughts. And so I don't really know what God's going to do with that, but I just left it in His hands. And overall, I'm glad that we did this, even though I didn't want to. So that's what I do. I had full camo. I didn't associate with JFA for most of the day. I was undercover.